Hey there, Reverend Sully, Eric O'Sullivan, ordained on the internet. The caveat, as always, please do not burn your hands holding on to my hot takes. If you do, well, that's on you then. It's time for a bit of nostalgia and love for comic books. And this is what we call a long box. It's pretty darn heavy because it's full to the brim with comic books and graphic novels and trade paperbacks. This is my dedicated DC Crisis long box. I've been working on this for over a decade, for a long time actually. And it started off like half full and now it's all empty. Just wanted to show some love for some of my favorite comics, especially with the bad news of George Perez and his diagnosis, and that we'll be losing him soon. And hopefully there's a solution for him and he can get out of that. But we all go back to the Lord sooner or later. We do. And it's the quality of our lives that, define us. But in 1985, I was 12 years old, and, this came out. Crisis on Infinite Earths by the new Teen Titans battery of Marv Wolfman and George Perez. And I had always loved the Earth 2 characters. Most notably Power Girl and Earth 2 Robin, who was an adult version of Robin. And his grown-up Robin costume was great. And this began a long love of what we would call the Crisis cycle and the Crisis stories. Ironically enough, it was a Crisis story that got me off of comic books, DC superhero comic books for good. And, but yeah, so let's not dwell on the negative. Let's embrace some positives. I just want to share with you my long box, my Crisis long box. It used to be the pride of my comic book collection, and now hopefully maybe I can sell it. And I've got what I considered. I tried to get as much as the Crisis story as I possibly could. The Crisis was about what DC had in years past. It was the multiverse. They invented the multiverse, which is pretty much a cliche now. But to streamline their multiverse and collapse their titles into one cohesive continuity on one Earth, they made, for the 50th anniversary, the Crisis on Infinite Earths, where it was the first time everything got rebooted. And we've been rebooting ourselves in the butt kiss ever since. So let's go through this a little bit. This is 1989's Animal Man on Vertigo Comics by Grant Morrison. And in this was a tale called The Second Crisis, where unfortunately Grant Morrison does horrible things to our protagonist, and he puts him into limbo, where we're met by the Second Crisis. And there are some titles in here that aren't part of the Crisis cycle. I included them in my own, personal curation of Crisis stories, things I thought were so important and so cool that I, had to put them into my Crisis long box. This one, Jim Starlin and Mike Mignola's Cosmic Odyssey. This is a great story. Interesting, sad side note though. In 2015 at the Boston Comic Con, I saw Mike Mignola, and I was like, dude, you drew my favorite thing. It's in the DC Comics, the Cosmic Odyssey. It's great art in this. It's so good. And he just didn't say a damn thing. He just looked at me like I was, and looked through me. like I was a window. It was kind of upsetting. I was just like, wow, this guy's. Why I didn't compliment you on Hellboy, and so yeah, I mean, like, yeah, that was like. So I'd say F him, but yeah, whatever with him. Whatever with toxic comic creators from now on. This is most definitely part of my comic, my crisis stories. The legendary Kurt Boussiak and George Perez, JLA Avengers. This is out of print. This will probably never see print again because of all the legal loopholes between these two competing publishing giants and royalties and whatnot. This is a great story, drawn by the master George Perez, who did runs on Avengers and in the DC universe. He's legendary. Here's one. The Identity Crisis by Brad Meltzer and Rags Morales. This was a game changer when it came out because it brought adult themes into our superhero comic books in a huge way. It made our super friends not so super. And it created a domino effect affecting Batman in particular. What happened was that the elongated man's wife, Sue Dibney, was murdered. And it went back to a shameful incident in the Justice League satellite era where Sue Dibney was on the satellite hanging out, and the original Dr. Light got up there and he raped her. Yeah, these are the super friends we're talking about. And the Justice League had Zatanna change his mind, like give him a mind wipe and alter his personality. Kind of like magically lobotomized him and made him an idiot. And then Batman was beamed up to the satellite and was like, what are you doing to him? You can't do that to people. And they mind wiped Batman to forget that incident. And then sooner or later he remembered it. And so Batman became very paranoid because of that. And it explained a lot of how Batman went from smiling Cape Crusader into the grim Dark Knight. This is Jeff Johns and Mike McCone's Teen Titans of the early 2000s. This was great. This was about the Teen Titans of the third generation Teen Titan team. Connell Superboy, Tim Drake Robin, Bart Allen Kid Flash, Cassie Sandsmark, Wonder Girl. They all grew up to be a dark Justice League in a broken future. And this was really good too. This was Absolute Power, the Superman Batman line, Jeff Loeb. And then things started changing again, leading up to a new crisis, the Infinite Crisis. And this was the dollar issue for 80 pages, and it was about Maxwell Lord and how he killed the Blue Beetle, Ted Kord, shot him in the head. And because of Batman's paranoia, getting mind wiped, he created a satellite called Brother Eye, which kept track of basically everything on Earth, and that what Maxwell Lord stole it from Batman. And so there were many different tie-ins to Infinite Crisis. We had the countdown to Infinite Crisis. Gail Simone actually did a really good job with Villains United and with the Secret Six, I think. That was like the last time she did something really good. Acts of Vengeance. And yeah, so we had the OMAC Project, Villains United, and Days of Vengeance. Villains United. Villains United was pretty good. It was like the Secret Six, the old Suicide Squad. And this one here, yeah, I had to go find this one. Wonder Woman 219 by Greg Rocca and Rags Morales. This is where Wonder Woman has to kill Maxwell Lord. Maxwell Lord had a telepathic control over Superman, and Superman was going to beat Batman to death. And the only way that Superman could be stopped was that Wonder Woman had to snap his neck and kill him. And this is also a countdown to Infinite Crisis, Jeff Johns' Crisis of Conscience, where it's first revealed that it's the first appearance that Superboy Prime was back. Superboy Prime was a character from Crisis on Infinite Earths, specifically DC Presents number 86, where during the crisis, Superman found Earth Prime, our Earth, and on that Earth had a young boy named Clark Kent, who, upon hitting his teenage years, found out that he actually was from Krypton and was a Superboy, and he was a survivor of the Crisis on Infinite Earths. Is between Superman, our Superman, the Superman of Earth 2, and Superboy Prime. They were able to defeat the anti-monitor of Crisis on Infinite Earths, which brings us to Jeff Johns and Phil Jimenez, the Infinite Crisis. And I was totally tuned into this one. I loved this one. This was really good. It restored. See, that's the Earth 2 Robin I'm talking about. That costume is. I love that costume. The survivors of the multiverse. Alexander Luthor of Earth 3, Superman of Earth 2, and Lois Lane of Earth 2, and Superboy Prime were all living in a quote-unquote paradise dimension. But what they saw from their dimension was the... Oh, this was a really good series. The Ranthanagar War. It was one of the best parts. And they got a whole bunch of crossovers, too. Superboy Prime versus Superboy Con-El is more fleshed out in that issue of Teen Titans. But what happened was that it was explained away that Superboy Prime broke out of the Paradise Dimension, and with him and Alexander Luthor decided they needed to change everything. The whole universe had gone dark with the direction that DC Comics had taken. So, Alexander Luthor and Superboy Prime wanted to change everything. Yeah. This was... And this one, one of my favorite writers, Judd Winick, who wrote The Return of the Red Hood, Jason Todd, got to tell Jason Todd's return in this. And I really do like Judd Winick. He followed me on Twitter. We followed each other for years. And he recently unfollowed me. So I'm pretty sad about that. And the Villains United special. And leading up to the epilogue in the Batman Superman 26, Tim Drake really took his best friend's loss hard. But then, in the wake of Infinite Crisis, we had The Brave New World, and all these new titles. And it was called 1 Year Later. That was the publishing initiative, where literally every title in the DC universe picks up 1 year later after the events of Infinite Crisis. I also included Planetary, Crossing Worlds by Warren Ellis. This is deserving of being part of my Crisis long box, where we had 3 different stories. Um, we had the Authority meets the JLA, the Authority meets Planetary. Planetary, sorry, was the superhero archaeologists of the Wildstorm universe. So it's about Planetary and the Authority. Planetary meets different versions of the Batman, and also Planetary slash JLA, which is some weird, unique Earth rendition of the Trinity of Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. Leading into 52, it was an ambitious comic book. It was a weekly. And so 52, I have every issue of 52. They had Secret Origins at the end of them. They had 2-page, it's just to reboot everyone's origin. And it was a pretty good story, too. And they just, I was in it weekly. This was when I was a weekly buyer. So I have the complete 52. And during 52 was World War III, which was it was basically everyone versus Black Adam. Black Adam had gone pretty much rogue, and everyone had to team up to stop Black Adam. That was a really good one. And like I said, about 1 year later, they had everything had this logo. 1 year later. So I put some of these 1 year later titles in here, because I think they would just they figure in. Up and Away by Jeff Johns. What happened after, and Kurt Boussiak, what happened after Infinite Crisis, that Superman was so depowered, he basically had to learn how to fly all over again and get his powers back up to full speed. Up and Away was a really good series. I threw Batman by Greg Rucka in here and J.H. Williams III. That one was really, really good for its time. And I thought it just deserved some love. The penultimate issue of a Planetary. And it would be years until we saw the next one. Now I put this in my into the Crisis long box because it deserves to be. Jeff Johns and Ethan Van Sciver's The Sinestro Corps War. Because Superboy Prime comes back. And he's part of the Sinestro Corps. And it's just an amazing run of comics. The Sinestro Corps War. Like I said, I was a weekly buyer at the time. This Green Lantern Corps was a really, really good title at the time. Patrick Gleason is a really good artist. And the Tales of the Green Lantern Corps. Wonderful Ethan Van Sciver art. I'm a huge Green Lantern fan. And I was so into this. Hear this wonderful Green Lantern, the wonderful Ethan Van Sciver art. They try to change Superboy Prime into Superman Prime because they'll tell you that the Superboy name was under copyright. All the banding about with copyrights at the time. This is why things get changed a lot of the times. The Ion, Tales of the Green Lantern Corps, Tales of the Sinestro Corps. Yeah, I mean, here we go. Now this is leading up to Final Crisis by Grant Morrison, the amazing Grant Morrison. Grant Morrison had a great run on Batman, and they deserve to be included in my Crisis Longbox. This is the introduction of of his son, Damian Wayne, who will be the next Robin. Here we go. I love Tim Drake's Gotcha Man inspired Robin costume of the 1 year later period. I think it's really awesome. But Damian is Talia al Ghul's son, and Batman 666. It's about Damian Wayne growing up to be Batman. Grant Morrison is such a great comic book and superhero comic book writer. Then comes this. Another attempt at a weekly. This is called Countdown to Final Crisis. We didn't know what Final Crisis was right until the end. But this was Countdown. So these are just 51 to 50 to 49. And then I have all these random issues that are stuck in here. Just Action Comics 850. Brave and the Bold number 5, just because they started bringing back the original, or what it looked to be the original Legion of Superheroes. I love Legion of Superheroes. Long live the Legion. Justice League of America. Like, wonderful Michael Turner art. Look at that. He passed away too soon as well. Look at this. Justice Society of America, more Jeff Johns, and every one of these had some great Alex Ross cover. These the Lightning Saga. The Lightning Saga was about the real Legion of Superheroes coming back and helping and finding, trying to help needing their help from Superman. Look at this Michael Turner art. Back when superheroines were supposed to look like superheroines. Yeah, and these just kept counting down. And there was a team of Kyle Rayner, Jason Todd, Donna Troy, and eventually Ray Palmer, the Atom. And they went through the multiverse. There was, at the end of Infinite Crisis was a new multiverse of 52 Earths. So, I know one of my favorite parts was the corruption of Mary Marvel. Mary Marvel started, she lost her powers, and she was given some of her powers back through Black Adam, and so she was more of a darker version of herself, which was going to play into Final Crisis and her appearance in Final Crisis. This was, as being a Flash fan, this was Bart Allen's Flash as an adult, who came back as an adult during Infinite Crisis, and it was All Flash number 1 tried to fix that misdirection. And yeah, but all of these, the entire countdown. And we had the search for Ray Palmer. So when our heroes, our crisis challengers, went on some kind of magical mystery tour of the multiverse, trying to look for the Atom. It was all basically a huge MacGuffin misdirection anyway. So here, now we have the reveal. And now we have worlds. See the 8 and the 15? Those are multiverse Earths where everything's happening. Oh, wow. Grant Morrison and Gene Haas, the Authority number 1, huh? Where they end up on Earth Prime. That went nowhere. Went absolutely nowhere. More Grant Morrison Batman. There's some great superhero comic books by Grant Morrison. Oh, Countdown Arena. Yeah, that was that's supposed to be Superboy Prime. That's Superman Prime. But yeah, I have all the Grant Morrison Batman run in here because it leads up to something called Batman R.I.P., which is a huge part of Final Crisis. Grant Morrison will be writing and wrote Final Crisis. This is great. This is Jeff Johns and Gary Frank's Superman and the Legion of the Superheroes, where it's the restoration of the real Legion of Superheroes. It was just these are some great comic books and good stories too. These are great Superman stories and great Batman stories. Okay, and here it starts it off. DC Universe number 0. The ending begins here. This is where Barry Allen comes back from the dead. And we start with Batman R.I.P. Batman R.I.P. was about the death of Batman, or what we thought was the death of Batman. Of course, it's all everything's a misdirection and things, but it was going to be Batman was going to be dead in the DC universe from events of Final Crisis. Yeah, Final Crisis. I loved Final Crisis. It was basically Grant Morrison's spin on Kirby and doing his own Crisis, because Grant Morrison writes some really good superhero comics. Got Rogue's Revenge. I got all the tie-ins. Requiem, because they killed off John Jones, the Martian Manhunter. And, this was just great. Superman Beyond 3D. It came with 3D glasses. This is Jeff John. No, this is Grant Morrison and Doug Mahnke. This was a great 2 issues of just oddball Superman love. Nobody loves Superman more than us and Grant Morrison. Yeah, the Final Crisis Submit. Final Crisis was good. It was the day that evil won. Darkseid. And this is really prophetic, too. I love the prophetic qualities of good comic books. Darkseid had unleashed the anti-life equation via social media. It showed up on all the news stations. It showed up on all your phones, all your tablets, all your laptops. And everyone who got exposed to the anti-life equation became under Darkseid's sway. And it was the day that evil won. And it was really interesting. Resist. There were so many people that were unaffected, heroes and villains alike. Yeah, Final Crisis. And then Batman dies in Final Crisis. He's actually hit with the Omega Sanction from Darkseid's eyes, which made him unstuck in time, like Billy Pilgrim. And every time he died in the past, he was reborn in another part of the past. And it gave us a really good Grant Morrison series called Batman and Robin, which now we have Dick Grayson stepping up and filling his mentor's boots and taking on his son as Robin. So now we have a cheerful Batman and a grim Robin, which is really, really interesting. I really like that. And this was awesome too. This is Rage of the Red Lanterns. This is where we're introduced to Atrocitus, the Red Lantern and the Red Lantern Corps. Awesome art by Shane Davis. Love you, Shane Davis. Yeah, the Rage of the Red Lantern. This is where we started warming up to the War of Light and to Blackest Night. Blackest Night will pretty much almost ends my Crisis Longbox. Blackest Night was Really, really good Jeff Johns writing. It was kind of invented by Ethan Van Sciver, and yeah, and I got all the tie-ins. The Tales of the Core. Yeah, the War of the Light led to the Blackest Night. Great art. I mean, just Blackest Night Batman. A lot of these tie-in issues were just cash grabs. You know, I mean, Blackest Night Superman, Black Lantern Superman was really cool looking. It was Earth 2 Superman who dies in Infinite Crisis, and it's just really, really awesome. Yeah, Blackest Night, just. Now this was great. Guy Gardner with a Green Lantern ring on one hand and a Red Lantern ring on the other hand, tearing through Black Lanterns. That was worth the price of admission. Loved Guy Gardner. Yep, and we got Blackest Night. Blackest Night. I loved this. This was my desktop for a long time as well. And I had every T-shirt for all the different Lantern cores: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and this was the 24-hour Lantern core. I mean, just yeah, it was so cool. And then came Brightest Day. Brightest Day was a real big disappointment, where it started winding up my crisis stories, and I kind of shied away from Brightest Day. I got a lot of Batman comic books, Batman and Robin from Grant Morrison, Batman Incorporated by Grant Morrison, which kind of ends my Crisis Longbox, and I end my Crisis Longbox in total with the final issue of Planetary number 27 by Warren Ellis and John Cassaday. Planetary was this amazing 27 issue long love letter to superhero comic books by two of the masters. Warren Ellis is an amazing comic book writer, amazing superhero funny book writer. And so yeah, that was just a tour of my DC Crisis Longbox. And so, if you like this kind of content, give me a thumbs up. If you didn't, give me a thumbs down. I'm a big lad. I can handle it. Leave a comment in the comment section. Continue the conversation. And give me a subscribe if you can. And, well, that's all I got for today. Said enough. So, you have a great day. And thank you. And I love comic books.